The budget deal is done, but what was done in the budget deal? And we now know who will be defending the Defense of Marriage Act. This is the CitizenLink report. I'm Stuart Shepard, along with Ashley Horne, our federal policy analyst. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Stuart.
She'll also soon be getting a new title, that of Mommy.
Mother. That's right. That's
Congratulations
right.
on that.
Thank you very much.
June 18th.
June 18th.
That's what you're aiming for, but I've got July 25th in the pool.
Oh, dear.
So, all the best to you. We're
Thank
looking
you.
forward to seeing the baby when
Yes.
he comes
When
along.
he comes out.
All right. Hey, we want to talk about the Congress. They passed this budget deal. What's your overall take on what happened in there?
I think for one thing, everyone's very thankful that we finally have a spending budget for the rest of 2011, or at least the fiscal year up through September. This was a really hard thing to get done. 7 or 8 times Congress passed continuing resolutions, just short-term spending bills. That was very frustrating. We worked pretty hard at trying to convince Congress, look, now is the time to defund Planned Parenthood for 2011, hopefully permanently. But that didn't happen. Unfortunately, the Republicans ended up giving up that provision in favor of reinstating the DC Opportunity Scholarship Program. This is the program for low-income students in the District of Columbia who want to go to better schools but really can't afford it. So that's a 5-year renewal on that program. That's an excellent thing. So we consider that a win. The other thing is that we did end up getting a provision that bans abortion funding in DC. The District of Columbia gets its funding from the federal government, and so they say what you can spend it on, what you can't. And that provision had actually been taken out by the Democrats last year. It's now reinstated. So we didn't get the bullseye, the prize of defunding Planned Parenthood yet.
Yeah.
But for 2011, we got a couple of good things.
We did get people on the record. I mean, the Senate took a vote, and that is an advance, just getting them on the record for how they stand on that issue.
That is, and then we have very few pro-lifers in the Senate, so we really wanted to get all of these guys on the record. We knew it was going to be a challenge to get it through the Senate, but we consider it one step forward once again in making the case that Planned Parenthood should be defunded. Watching all of these senators defend the country's largest abortion seller was just ridiculous. And so I think going on record like that showed Americans kind of open their eyes, like these guys are very serious about something that's a very sad issue and shouldn't really be receiving any tax money.
Now, this funds us up to the fall. I don't want to get in the weeds here, but what's the significance of this not being a real, true budget? What does that mean, really?
Well, it just means that, honestly, we just have a few more months of spending to come down the pipe. The big deal is the 2012 budget now. That's where we need to move forward. And honestly, they've already started debating how are we going to spend the money for 2012. So we're really going to be pushing hard. Once again, we're going to have another round of the 2011 arguments. We want Planned Parenthood defunded, that we want some other pro-life provisions put in there. And so again, it's a repeat. Every year these bills have to be passed. We have to fund the government.
I also wanted to ask you about the House picking up the Defense of Marriage Act. We now have a face attached to that case. Tell us about Paul Clement.
We do. We have Paul Clement. He is a fantastic attorney. In fact, our judicial analyst told me he is the best appellate advocate we could have asked for outside of Chief Justice John Roberts.
Which is a huge compliment, because Roberts is a genius.
Absolutely, and he's actually argued more cases than the Chief Justice. So we're looking forward to actually seeing this guy in action. The House just recently intervened, filed the paperwork for that. And again, just a real quick recap, it's in order to defend the Defense of Marriage Act. The Department of Justice said, you know what, we don't think the law is constitutional, we're not going to defend it anymore. And the House, led by Speaker Boehner, stepped in and said, no, you know what, that's wrong. We do need to defend the law. And so that's what they're going to do. In fact, Speaker Boehner said, you know what, we should actually take the money that the DOJ would have used to defend the law and put it towards supplementing the cost of the litigation.
Which is a bit of an elbow in the ribs, really.
Really, exactly. In fact, he wrote a very polite letter to Nancy Pelosi saying, this is what I would like to do. She doesn't have to give him permission, of course, but it was a nice gesture. Yeah. So that's another thing we'll be talking about in the 2012 budget is, hey, can we reallocate those funds from the Department of Justice over to this litigation pool?
And the beauty of this is we had complained for quite a while that the Department of Justice was not doing a decent job in defending marriage. There are some well-known and proven strategies for arguing for marriage in the courtroom, and they just sandbagged it. They weren't bringing those arguments. By taking a dive now and taking themselves out of the case entirely, now we've got a real attorney who's going to present real arguments.
Exactly, and I think the biggest argument they decided not to make was the value of having a mom and a dad, married mom and dad, to raise a child, and how important that is. And when you take that away, how do you argue to defend marriage? So we really we want to see Paul Clement and his team take that up, and I think they will.
Right. We've got a recess going on right now with Congress.
We
is that
do
right?
the next couple of weeks, so you can breathe a sigh of relief right now.
All right. And what will you be focusing on once they get back?
You know, budget when they come back. We're not done with the push to defund Planned Parenthood. I can't emphasize that enough. This giant abortion seller is getting the most millions of taxpayer dollars, and as we've seen, has been accused of a lot of different things, including allowing for or helping sex trafficking and those kinds of things. Now, we're not totally sure on all those issues, but questions just keep popping up. And so now is the time to take a look at this group and say, you know what, you don't need any more money from tax dollars. You're doing quite well making money off just abortions.
Yeah, and roughly a third of Planned Parenthood's budget comes from tax monies from all different sources, not just the federal government, but all of them. So that's significant.
Right. It's over $300 million comes from federal, state, and local funds, kind of all combined together. And I should point out, it's very difficult to find out exactly the breakdown of where Planned Parenthood gets all of its tax dollars from. They've done a very good job kind of hiding that and looking. We've done a lot of digging, and we really can't find everything all the money that they get.
All right. Well, Ashley, thank you for the work you do and for keeping us on top of this.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. You may always write to us at mail@citizenlink.com. We encourage you to pray for our elected officials and our nation as we move through all these difficult issues together to try to keep the nation on track. And remember, stand tall and be heard.